In this video, we're going to see how to set different parameters for CPLEX. Let's go to the CPLEX manual and see how you and see what the parameters are that you can set up. Okay, let's Google IBM Knowledge Center. IBM Knowledge Center. Okay, from here we go to other software, and we try to find it. Here we go. I love CPLEX Customization Studio. Okay, I'm using the latest version, so I'm gonna click on 12.6.3. I'll click here on CPLEX, go down a little bit, and here we go. This is everything about the parameters of CPLEX. You can read all of this and really know everything that you can personalize before solving your model. So, all right. Before choosing a parameter we're going to change, let's just talk about the previous model we were solving in the previous video. So as you can see here, there's a gap. Right now the gap is at 12%. All right, it went down, it went below 10% right now. If 10% is good enough for you, if you're okay with being 10% from an optimal from the optimal solution, within 10% of the optimal solution, then you can set up CPLEX so that it stops at that moment, so that it doesn't waste so much time proving optimality. Because this can go for a really long time depending on the model. Let's say 10% about that. Okay, let's go to CPLEX now. Stop this. So before solving the model, you want to set the parameter. Okay, set parameter. That's the parameter I want to set, and I'm going to put it to 10%. All right, let's see what happens now. There it goes. Okay, so that happened. Right after it went below 10%, this 9.89, the optimizer stopped and gives you whatever it gives you after it solves the problem. Where this would be the solution that it has at that point. All right. Now, let's say that you are good with 10%, but you don't want to go over 15 seconds per se. All right. Let's set up a time limit also, so it doesn't go forever trying to find a solution. All right, so the typical list. Limits. Under limits, we will find the optimizer time limit in seconds. Okay, so this is for Java. And okay, so the time limit. If we go down below here, okay, any non-negative value in seconds. This is the default, which is basically infinity. Okay, so time limit, let's just say 15 seconds. All right. So whatever happened first, then the optimizer will stop. So in this case, we already know that it takes around 10 seconds to find 10%. Okay, so the model stops right there. Let's change this to 5% and see what happens. So getting to 5% takes a lot longer. So as it is right now, the model should stop after 15 seconds. Let's see if that happens. There you go. Okay, so after 15 seconds, that's the total time there. After 15 seconds, it only reached 9%. So even though we had 5% here, the time limit occurred first, so the optimizer stops at that point. If you reach first the relative gap, then it will stop. It will stop then. Okay. Good. Now, there's another way of setting up parameters. In order not to have to code every parameter you want to set up, you can have a file in which you can store all the parameters and that you can modify without having to modify the code, so that only CPLEX just read a text file and then it's just going to get all of the parameters. So let's just comment this out. And all right, we need to create a parameter file. So we're going to create here new file. We're going to call it config.prm. Okay, so the extension of this file has to be .prm. You can put whatever name you want, but like it needs to be prm. Let me just make sure that that's actually the extension. If you go back to the manual, you can see in this tab right here, file format supported by CPLEX. And the one that we're creating right now would be this one, PRM, parameter settings. Did I have PRM? Okay, correct. Just say this is just a text file. All right. Now, if we look at here, the first line needs to be the version of CPLEX that you're using. So, right, I need to replace that with a number. If you're not sure what the number of CPLEX you're using, you can print it here. Let's see, system out println, and we're gonna write using CPLEX, and now model that get version. Okay, let's see, I'm gonna comment that out a little bit if that works. All right, there you go. Using CPLEX 12. Okay, so this is the number you want to copy, and it goes there. All right, so let's set up the same parameters. All right, so tolerance. Let's go back to the parameter list and go to the topical list, MIP tolerances, and relative gap. All right, so relative MIP gap tolerance. All right, so with this, we can write comment. CPLEX is going to ignore this line right after this character. It's going to ignore everything after that, so it's not going to read that. All right, so this is the identifier. We copy that there. We can put space, a tab, doesn't matter, okay? And we said that the MIP relative gap would be 0.05. And that, let's do the other one. That would be the time limit. The time limit is under limits here. Optimize the time limit, and this is the identifier. All right, so we talked about 15 seconds. All right. Okay, I'm gonna save this, and all right, that's goes back in, and we need to read this file. Model. Let's see. Yeah, that should work. Read parameter, and this would be our file that we just made, config.brm. Alright, let's see if this works. It's 5% and 15 seconds. So like we saw in the previous, we saw before, it should stop after 15 seconds, right? Let's see if that happens. Alright, it worked. And if we change this to 10%, it should stop before. There. Now, this is the basic on how you set up parameters. So you can forget about writing. I'd rather use the configuration file, because then you don't have to change the code. You just read one file here, then you can forget about the code and then set up your configuration file however you want. All right, some interesting parameters that you can set up. Let's take a look. If we go let's see, the topical list, we go to MIP. Let's go to strategies. All right, let's look at this one, branching direction. So it's a mixed integer program. The way of solving this is by branch and bound. So you can, when you select a variable, CPLEX itself chooses it chooses however it wants to branch. Now you can set it up so that it branches up or it branches down. These are the three options. So if you set that parameter to 0, then CPLEX will choose. You can set it up to -1 or to 1 and force to be the branching direction that you desire. So let's just set it up to branching up. Okay, so the identifier is that number right there, and I just set it to up. And so that I don't forget what that number means, I'll add a comment right there. All right, so right there I'm branching up and then branching back. Now, the way that explores the nodes, I mean, what would be the next node? Let's see, an MIP strategies. Let's see, node selection strategy. The node selection strategy, you have all these options. Depth first, best bound, that's for default. And all right, so basically this all keeps working the same way. You just add the identifier here. Let's say depth first, and don't forget to add the comment there so that you know what it, then you can, when you go back, you know what you were doing. Okay, so this is going to be, and I actually suggest you add this part here. All right, so CPLEX is going to read until there. Okay, this is branching direction is 1, so that would be up. This is the seconds. Well, That's just 10%, right? Okay. Let's see how this goes. Now, depending on the configuration of the parameters and on your particular model, changing all of these parameters may contribute to the performance of CPLEX or not. You don't really know. It really depends on your model. You really need to know what you're doing when you're playing with the parameters, but there's a bunch of things that you can do with this. And here in the Knowledge Center, you can try to figure all of this out by yourself. Okay, that'll be all for now.